Hi everyone, welcome back to Chess with Mr. Ray, guys. And once again I would like to come back to this new recent feature, survival mode on a Puzzle Rush on chess.com. The current record on the student account Chess with Mr. Ray is right now 24. You're more than welcome to try to beat that. If you beat that record, please identify yourself. In this video I would like to make it a little bit more instructional, and I would like to apply 5 steps, 5 elements to solve any puzzle that you saw on the introductory title. So step number 1, we will assess the board if it's checkmate or win material. Step number 2, once we know what roughly the position is about, we will do some candidate moves, 2 to 3 moves that could be related to our solution. And number 3, we will use calculation to eliminate what works or what doesn't. Please remember the definition of calculation was what computer can do against our move. And when the puzzles, in the beginning, when the puzzles are easy, we will also keep an eye on computer's last move being a blunder, if we can take advantage of it. When the puzzles do get harder, what I suggest is to identify your main pieces on the board and talk to each of them, asking what each piece can do. So without further ado, we will start. And our goal today is to beat our current record, which is 24. So once I hit 30, we can stop there. So sit back, relax, and enjoy, and pay attention to the 5 elements we talked about. Here it goes. So let's see the first puzzle. He's going to take my queen, and I'm probably going to back rank checkmate him. So in the beginning, first 5 to 10 puzzles, yes, it's an assessment of the board. You look at the king. If his king is not safe, it's a checkmate. If his king is safe and your queen is far away, then it's win material. Also in the beginning, my suggestion is when the puzzles are very easy, please keep an eye on the computer's last move as a big blunder to try to take advantage of it. So there's no time, so that's why I took some time to explain this position. So computer went with the king. We look at our queen, we look at his king, and we see we have a capture checkmate. Now, this is a typical puzzle where computer's last move is a blunder. So once again, that was the 4th element which I've listed in the beginning of this video. In the introduction, first 10 puzzles, you can just see if the computer's last move is a blunder. In this puzzle, it might not necessarily be a blunder, but you look at his king. So yes, I don't have a queen on the board, but I still have the ability of a back rank check. So we do that one, he blocks, we capture, and then if you move the king, we would use the pawn to checkmate him. In a position like this, however, when you already see that your queen is nearby and his king is semi-open with no security guards, you know from your assessment of the board, which is step 1, that it's most likely going to be about checkmate. So if it's about checkmate, let's start doing some candidate moves. We see a candidate move like this. For now, not much to calculate because we can just see that we can checkmate, but when the puzzles do get harder, calculation will be important to eliminate candidate moves. So again, the computer moved here. We briefly look at his king. His king is open, having no security guards. Once you identify that the puzzle is about checkmate, you look at where your queen is, and that's where you can see some candidate moves, and you should be able to see a checkmate. Here we go. His king is completely open. He just moved it back, and we see that our queen is right here. We see a checkmate. Okay, guys? So in the beginning, to get the first 10 puzzles, it's very, very simple. Checkmate or win material and a little bit of candidate moves. See how his king here is quite safe because he has 2 security guards and our queen is kind of far away, and mostly his king is not open. So if it's not a checkmate, it has to be win material. Computer's last move, you can use the arrow to see what the computer last move was, should be a blunder. And if it's if you identified that in the puzzle you need to win material, that means you need to right away look for captures. The first capture I see right here is capturing the knight, but I calculate what he's going to do. He's going to capture me back, but then I also have a queen to recapture. Okay, guys? So that's how I won material in that puzzle. Here probably cannot be a checkmate. Queen is too far away, and his king is well protected, so it has to be win material. If it's win material, you start with captures. So let's do some candidate moves. If I capture this one, doesn't work. He captures me. If I capture this one, doesn't work. He captures me back. I don't get anything. But if I capture this one, so I did my candidate moves about all captures because we said that this puzzle must be about win material. So I did all the captures and I can see that this capture works because I get to remove a defender of this bishop and so I want a free piece. Okay? So more than welcome to help me. Here we go. Computer's last move was with the queen, so we can always see computer's last move. We are approaching first time puzzles in which most of the time computer's last move is a blunder because the puzzles are easy. Now our queen is far away, his king is not that safe, but our queen is far away. So this might not be about checkmate because to checkmate our queen has to be near and we have to have some pieces maximized on the king. So if it is win material, then it has to be about capture. Now, capturing this pawn doesn't look like a good choice. Maybe we can do a check. And the reason I'm doing this check is not necessarily for a checkmate, but because it's a fork, and fork is also something that can help you to win material. So in the quiz, there's a question. If you identify to win material, then what kind of moves you look for? So capturing moves is something you look for right away, but also pins, forks, checks that can win you material. Those are all good moves that can potentially win you some material. But captures is something you look for right away. So you block the check, we can pick up a rook for free, and that is how we win material. Here we go, in this one. So what can this position be about? The computer's last move was here. So the puzzles do get a little bit more difficult, but we should be able to beat our record, which is currently 24, with no problem. So step 1, assessment of the board. Is this a checkmate or win material? You guys let me know. And we can see that his king is not that safe and our queen and rook are nearby. So this could be a potential checkmate. And we can start with the candidate moves for that with some checks because we are near his king. So the first check I have is right here, but that's my candidate move, and because the puzzles are getting a little bit more tougher, we have to start doing calculation. So calculation is, before I play this move, I ask myself, what are you gonna do? If he moved the king to the first rank, I'll probably have a checkmate with my queen there. If he captures my rook, I'll recapture back with the check, but it's gonna also be a fork. So that should look like a solution. So assessment of the board was still important. From there, it was candidate moves, and then a little bit of calculations when the puzzles get difficult. So here we switched from checkmating to win material. But if the computer didn't play correctly, we would be able to checkmate him as well. And here we go. What do you guys think this would be about? King is right here. Our queen is nearby, but we don't really have any other pieces. Like a light square bishop would be nice to have, or a knight. Then we could see a checkmate. If it's not a checkmate, it has to be win material. When it's win material, you start right away looking for captures, but I can't capture this knight, which would be nice. So then maybe I can start looking for some pins, forks, discovery attacks, skewer, checks, etc. So then I start thinking, what can I do with my queen? Because that is one of my main pieces. I have this check. So that's a candidate move. But then how do you progress from here to the correct solution? You ask yourself, okay, if I do this check as a candidate move to win material because we couldn't checkmate, then where would you go? He's gonna have to move his king back, and that's where you can do another check, achieving that fork that could win you the knight. Okay, guys? So once again, assessment of the board, candidate moves, and a little bit of calculation. Assessment of the board is important because you need to understand what is expectation from the computer. Do we need to win material or do you need to checkmate? So once again here, it does not look like we can checkmate because he has way too many security guards near his king. So if it's not a checkmate, that has to be win material. Now the first move you look for win material is captures, but you can't really capture anything that wins material. Then you see maybe you can do a threat. So pin, fork, discover attack, and then you kind of see that you don't have anything. So these are the type of puzzle where it starts to be a little bit tricky. So what you have to do is you have to then apply the fifth element of the puzzle. So the first one is assessment of the board. The second one is candidate move. The third one is calculation. The fourth one is, while the puzzles are easy, is to see if computer's last move is a blunder. And then the fifth one, when the puzzles get slightly more difficult, something that can help you is to identify who your main pieces are and talk to them and ask what each piece can do. So queen for sure is an important piece in this position because all my other pieces are not doing much. And the bishop. So those are the two main pieces in this vision. Now we're going to talk to them separately. Can the bishop do anything? The only thing the bishop can do is to capture, but it doesn't work. Well, what can the queen do? The queen can check, but that doesn't work. The queen can move here, or the queen can attack the rook. Okay, guys? So using the fifth element of identifying who your main pieces are on the board, I was able to solve this puzzle. But also from the assessment of the board, we knew that it's not going to be a checkmate, that it's going to be win material. And so I trapped that rook using the element of identifying who the main pieces are and doing candidate moves with them. So that's when the puzzles become less obvious. So he ran away with his rook. The rook is protected, but now I can capture the knight. Okay, guys? So here we go. Now here, let's see. He moved here. And we can, as always, step 1, assessment of the board. And the purpose of assessment of the board is to see if it's checkmate or win material. So let's see. In order for us to checkmate, his king should not be safe. So the king is not safe when it's open, and here he is not open. Or maybe he absolutely have no security guards. And also, you have to look at where your queen is. If your queen is somewhere very far away, you probably cannot checkmate. So the king is not open, but he doesn't have security guards. So we might be able to do a checkmate, but let's see how we can do that. So the first candidate move is maybe doing something to the king, like a check. When you think the puzzle wants you to checkmate, you start with checks, right? So this check, but I'm not going to do it because I have to make sure I'm ready for what I will do when he captures my knight. So I'll capture my knight with the pawn for sure, because this bishop is taking away a square. And when he captures my knight with the pawn, that's where his king is going to get opened up. And when the king is open, as we already know from before, you always look at your queen. So when he captures my knight with the pawn, I'll checkmate him with the queen over here. So that is the solution. And that was the first candidate move that I saw, and it seems to work. So you start with one candidate move, see if it works. If it doesn't work based on a calculation, you move on to the next candidate move. But most importantly is that your candidate moves have to reflect the correct assessment of the board. We said that here we're going to try for a checkmate because his king is not very safe, correct? And his king wasn't safe because all his pieces are far away and he doesn't have security guards. He only has pawns, so all we had to do is to open him up. Again, no time limit. So I'm already at 14, halfway there. Now he goes here. We'll look at the first step assessment of the board. His king with against these two rooks is completely lonely, and we see the two candidate moves, 1, 2, and one of them is a checkmate. So this is a much easier puzzle than what we had previously, but it's okay, we can take that. So here, just an assessment of the board, assessment of his king safety helped us to solve the puzzle very, very quickly. Also, the queen move was a blunder. So here we go. Let's try to solve this puzzle together. First step is assessment of the board. We cannot checkmate here because his king is way too safe. It's not open. He has a security guard over here, and our queen is far away. So if it's not a checkmate, it has to be win material. When it's win material, you look for captures, which the only capture we have right now is this, which doesn't work. If no other captures that can win you material, you start to look for pins, forks, discover attack, x-rays, skewers, etc. So you have to know those tactics in order to recognize the pattern. Now, one thing that is also common is a queen in our territory that is surrounded by a lot of our pieces. So that's where we can start looking for a pattern called a queen trap. Now we see that here he captured this pawn. So once again, element number 4, sometimes looking at the computer's last move can help you to see if it's a blunder. Capturing a poison pawn there definitely looks like suspicious, and so we can start candidate moves towards trying to win material. Because we don't have a capture, we are probably going to trap his queen. This is the candidate move to trap the queen, but we ask ourselves what he can do. He can take our knight and escape. Here is another one, in which case he will not be able to escape, so this is the correct solution. Okay, good. So, let's continue. We are already at 16. Let's continue. Step 1, here is computer's last move, and as I said, sometimes it helps us to take advantage by asking ourselves if it's a blunder. So step 1, assessment of the board. Checkmate or win material. His king is very, very unsafe because it's open, but our queen is far away. Because of that, unfortunately, if you take a little bit more time, you will see that it's going to be very difficult to checkmate. However, if it's not a checkmate, it must be win material. When it's win material, the first move you look at is captures. So we can't really capture anything here except rook capture pawn, which doesn't work. So the next one, you start to look for pins, forks, discovered attack, skewers, x-rays, etc. Here we have an alignment of pieces. So my bishop can do a discover attack on the black bishop when the queen can take the black bishop. So the alignment of pieces should always remind you of a discover attack. So once again, here it's win material because we couldn't checkmate. And when you win material, if it's not a capture, you look for pins, forks, discover attack, x-rays, skewers, etc. So we have this check right here. And when the king moves away, we can use our queen to capture his bishop, right? So we can try that. And that is how we won material. Very good. Okay, so what's going on here? This one, his king, we have 3 minor pieces near his king. His king is already surrounded by a lot of his pieces which are blocking him, and we had previously a check. If I had a queen on this position, in this position, I would then for sure know it's a checkmate. But because I don't have a queen, it becomes less obvious that it's a checkmate, but because his king is still not very safe, you start looking for checks right away, and we have this check that we can see is actually a checkmate because his knight is pinned and the king will not be able to go anywhere. So as you can see, once again, assessment of the board, which is step 1, is extremely important because you have to be clear if it's checkmate or win material. Okay, guys? So for example, here, I'm pretty sure that everybody would agree with me that it's going to be hard to checkmate. His king is a little bit open, but our queen is far away and there is no other pieces near his king. So it's going to be hard to checkmate. So if it's win material, then we have to see, maybe just start looking for captures. But this capture back doesn't look like we win material. Common is when you look for pins, forks, checks that can do a fork, skewers, discover attack. So we see another candidate move towards win material. We see a queen check like this, right? So what that's going to do is it's going to attack his king and fork his bishop. Okay, guys? So in this position, after we gave that check, we then could pick the bishop up for free, and that is enough to win material. So in this puzzle, we know that computer's last move was a blunder. So please pay attention to all of the 5 elements because that could really help. Sometimes you have to really ask yourself, how can you take advantage of the computer's moves? Sometimes you have to identify, well, all the time you have to identify if it's checkmate or win material. And sometimes you just have to see if the computer blundered or not. So step 1, assessment of the board to see checkmate or win material. After that, we're going to do candidate moves and calculation. When the puzzles get hard, you have to do identification of the main pieces and do candidate move to see if any of them can do something. Okay, so we are in this position right here. Now it's going to be very difficult to checkmate. His king is quite safe, our queen is far away, and our pieces are far away from his king. So if it is win material, number 1 thing you look for is, so once we identified that the puzzle is not about the checkmate, then you can work towards winning material, and right away, what do you look for in a winning material? You look for capture. So one of the candidate move right away should be this capture, but we are not going to do that until we calculate. So he'll capture back, and what can we do? Maybe we capture again, and then he captures back again with the rook. At the very end, you have the back crank fork with the rook, checking his king and attacking the bishop. That is how you will win material. But again, when the puzzles get a little bit harder, all it means is that you need to calculate sometimes 2 or 3 moves ahead. So you have to be ready for what you are doing on your third move, or you have to ask yourself what computer can do twice against your move. Here we go. Now this puzzle once again will not look like it's a checkmate puzzle because his king is quite safe. He has an escape square here. His queen is controlling all the checks, and our queen can't really give any checks. So is the knight. So if it's not a checkmate, it has to be win material. Once again, if it's win material, you look for captures, but this is not the capture that would be the solution. What else can we do? So we have an alignment. There are 2 ways to solve this puzzle. We have an alignment here, diagonal alignment, that automatically leads to a discovered attack check that wins you the queen. If you didn't know about it, then you can ask yourself, well, what are my main pieces are in this position? The queen and knight, and then you can do candidate move with them. What can the queen do? Maybe you can pin the bishop, but then what will computer do? It will take our knight. What else can the queen do? He can give a check, but that doesn't work. So you, after identifying the main pieces, you then have to see and talk to them what each piece can do, and then I hope that one of the moves that you would do with the main piece, which was the knight, after doing candidate moves, is this check, and you could see that that works because you win the queen. So here we go. I'm already at 21, and all I need to do is to beat 24 because that is the current record. And if somebody will score 30, then this video is gonna go later on. I'll do one more all the way past 30, but I'll get to 24 right away, and then I'll start explaining how to do puzzles past 20s. This is right now a video about how to get to a 25, 30. After that, if somebody gets that, more than welcome to challenge the Chess with Mr. A account. I will then quickly get to 30 and explain how I solve the puzzles in that phase because the puzzles are more difficult. So here we go. Before I solve this puzzle, let's review all together the 5 elements of the puzzle. Number 1, assessment of the board to see if it's checkmate or win material. Number 2, candidate moves. Number 3, calculation. Number 4, paying attention to computer's last move. Maybe it's a blunder that you can sometimes take advantage of. Number 5, identifying who your main pieces are in the board if the puzzle get too difficult, and then doing candidate move with each piece, trying to see what could work. Okay, so the computer's last move was a pawn capture. Don't know yet if it's a blunder. Now let's see if we can checkmate or win material. Now our queen is under attack because that's what he just played, and our main pieces are the queen and the bishop is also important. The rook is not the main piece here because it doesn't do anything. If it was here, I would already include it in the back rank checkmate ideas, but the rook is not here. So queen and bishop are my main pieces, but my queen is under attack, so I'm just going to do candidate move with my queen. So if I capture, that doesn't look like it's a solution. Can I checkmate here? No. Where can the queen go? Maybe the queen can go to attack the rook. Maybe the queen can go to do a battery like this. Doesn't work. Go like this to do a battery. Doesn't work. It takes me. Well, where else can the queen go? And now we can see that one of the candidate moves with the main piece, which is the queen, is over here. Now, how do we find this move? Number 1, you look for his king. Your bishop is already pointing out at his king, and that's a weakness, plus the bishop is one of your main pieces. Now, I don't want to say this is checkmate or win material because it can switch. So, for example, here, it's a double attack on the checkmate and on the rook. He'll defend the checkmate, and then you'll just win material. He can just defend the checkmate by going the bishop over here. So, when the puzzles do get harder, I think identifying the main pieces on the board and asking yourself what each piece can do, and also paying attention to computer's last move, can be more efficient than just looking at it and asking yourself if it's not obvious to identify if it's win material or checkmate. Then you have to use that strategy of identifying the main pieces and start doing the candidate move. So I did my candidate move with this queen. I kind of skipped the first step here, assessment of the board, because it wasn't obvious if it's checkmate or win material. If the rook was here, maybe we could talk about the back rank checkmate, but it seemed to be difficult to checkmate in this puzzle. So all I did was, after identifying my main pieces, I did the candidate move with each piece, and I saw that I can do a double attack with my queen. Okay, guys? So here we go. Now that looks funny because I wasn't in check. Actually, the pawn was there, and so he captured. So his king, let's look at this position. His king has not that many pieces near, and his king is quite open. We have an open file in front of the king, but our queen is far away. And could this be about checkmate with material? Well, we can't really look at how we can win material. You capture that or you capture that, none of that stuff works. So you analyze sometimes twice. You analyze if it's win material, you look at all the captures and you see that you don't have anything that win material, switch back to the checkmate. Or sometimes you think it's a checkmate, look for candidate moves towards the checkmate, you see it doesn't work, switch back to the material. So when the puzzles do get a little bit harder, that step one assessment of the board can depend on, once again, doing candidate moves with the pieces that you identified who are the main pieces. Now this rook is definitely important in this position because it's looking at the king. My queen is far away, but if I could get my queen over here, that would be a checkmate. And therefore, the pawn is also a main piece. So once again, I think I should stress this out and explain a little bit slower. When the puzzles get harder, sometimes you can skip between checkmate or win material because it's not that obvious. But what you should not skip is identifying the main pieces, the pawn, the rook, and potentially the queen because it wants to checkmate over here. And then you can ask yourself, well, what can those pieces do? The pawn is the main piece, but it can't do anything. The queen can try to go to the king, but that's too slow because he's gonna pretty much discover attack our king. Next move is the double check. But this rook, it's one of the main pieces. What can the rook do? We can give a check and use that to force the king into an open. And so I was gonna checkmate with the king, with the queen. Okay, guys? So this is the idea. Once again, step one when the puzzles are harder is not that obvious. Checkmate or win materials. So you start with the identifying where the main pieces are and start with some candidate moves. The knight, the bishop, the rook, right? So then you start talking now. What can this bishop do? The bishop can capture this knight, but does that look like it works if he just simply captures back? The knight, what can the knight do? The knight can capture the pawn, but does that look like it's a solution? He can just capture me with his king. What can the rook do? The rook can give this check. Well, that looks interesting. I'm not going to play it right away, but I'm going to ask what the king can do. So when the king escapes somewhere, he's going to for sure get checked more additionally by the knight or by the bishop. So that is how, when the puzzles are hard, but you're still doing your candidate moves and with the main pieces, you can still solve pretty easily. So there we go. I'm already at 24. After this one, I officially can beat the current record of the Chess with Mr. Ray account Puzzle Rush surviving mode. If anybody can score higher than 24, then I'll have to make another video and to explain how do I solve puzzles past 24. So here we go. This is not going to be about checkmate, most likely, because his king has two security guards, two bishops, and my queen is far away. My queen was nearby, for example here, we could talk more about checkmate, but my queen is too far away, and his king has two bishops protecting and four pawns that protect him, so his king is not unsafe. If it's win material, I look for captures, but this capture doesn't work, and if it's win material, maybe I look for some pins, forks, checks, etc. What is the alignment of pieces? It goes on the list of discovered attacks that we always talk during win material. You guys remember the discover attack, right? So something we have to pay attention, alignment of pieces. Now, once again, when the puzzles get harder, I come back to the previous strategy. Who are my main pieces? Well, this knight and rook are definitely not my main pieces. The queen is, the knight is, because it's in between the two queens, and the rook on the open file. And then I start asking myself what each piece can do. The queen can't really do anything, the knight can't really do anything, but the rook can do a check, and I immediately consider that as a candidate move and ask what computer can do. So if I check him, when he moves his king, my queen captures the bishop. If he blocks with the bishop, I can now sacrifice my rook for the bishop to do a discover attack to win a queen, and so we won material, and we said from before that we can't really checkmate there. Okay, guys? So once again, right here, this is easy to see that it's not going to be about checkmate, it's going to be about win material. So the first thing you look at are captures. If I capture this one, if he captures my rook, I'll capture again. If he captures my rook with the pawn, then I'll just win material. See, some of the puzzles are very easy. Some of the puzzles you can still apply checkmate or win material. For example, in the previous puzzle, we knew that it was not checkmate for sure. It was win material, and then I just looked for capture right away. This one, his king is very open. I already have 2 rooks and the queen. So it has to be about checkmate. Now that would be a nice checkmate candidate move, but it doesn't work because he captures me with his queen over here. Another move is here, candidate move, but it doesn't work because he captures me. Another candidate move is here, which is interesting because when he takes, I get my queen to go all the way down and checkmate him. So that probably is the solution. So in the previous puzzle, we for sure knew that it's not going to be about checkmate. In this puzzle, because his king was open, we knew that it's a checkmating puzzle. Okay, guys? So once again, let's see what this puzzle is about. I'm at 27 already, so that is enough. That is what my expectation. If everyone's goal right now should be to get 30, and anybody who get over 30 can definitely ask Mr. A for a prize. So this one, and I hope you will agree with me, is not going to be about checkmate. So if it's win material, we identify the main pieces and see what can the queen do. Now if the rook captures like this to try to checkmate, it's a good looking candidate move, but unfortunately when we ask ourselves what computer can do, it can give us way too many checks like this, and so it doesn't work. So can't capture this based on calculating. It deserves to be a candidate move, but unfortunately it doesn't work if you ask yourself to calculate. And we also said it's going to be very difficult to checkmate here because yes, his king is not safe, but we don't have enough pieces. So then we know that our queen is the main piece, and we ask ourselves what can the queen do. So you can give this check, after which you calculate that the king just moves away and you only have one more check. So it doesn't look like it's a satisfying solution. But what else can the queen do? Because with the main piece we do different candidate moves. It can do a fork, and that's how I was going to capture his rook. In the end game, I would like to remind everybody that it's most likely about pawn promotion. So in the end game, you always look if you have a passed pawn, and then you try to figure out if you can promote it. So if I give this check when the king moves away, I will push the pawn, but he can capture me. So that doesn't quite work. Maybe I can do a skewer. This is definitely in the end game not about checkmate or win material, but about pawn promotion. I can try to give this check to see what he's gonna do. And he's going to most likely move his king away, correct? So when he moves his king away, I'll capture his rook, and then he captures back, after which, okay, so this is where you have to calculate a little bit further. Okay, he actually fell for this one, and we were able to promote a pawn. But if he did play correctly, that was another very important pawn push at the end with an idea of a skewer and a pawn promotion. Okay, well, I'm at 29. This is the last puzzle I'm going to do. And most importantly, I want to refresh the 5 steps. Step 1 is checkmate or win material. Now, in fact, computer wants to checkmate me next move. So I probably have to play a very aggressive move right now, which probably has to be a check. His king is not open, but it's by itself with no security guard, and I have queen and rook as and the pawn as a forcing power to try to checkmate. So let's start the candidate moves. If I move here, if he blocks with the pawn, I'll then check him with the rook, and that should be a checkmate. So what do I expect from this candidate move here is that his king is going to move away. Once again, if you're not sure in this puzzle if it's checkmate or win material, you can then just identify who your main pieces are and start candidate moves. So your main pieces in this position are rook, queen, and pawn. But if you do this, he doesn't have to capture, he just moves away, and after that you don't have anything. What can the rook do? Well, the rook can't really do anything in this position, because anything it does, we're going to get checkmate, and the rook doesn't have any efficient move. What can the queen do? The queen only has one check, so something you can just start with it, because that is pretty much the only move, the only reasonable move. Now we can continue our checks. He didn't capture back, he moved with his king away. Now we have to continue our checks, and that was it. So by identifying the main pieces and doing candidate moves with each one, that can really help you to solve harder puzzles when you're not sure if it's checkmate or win material. Okay, guys? So I'm gonna do another video of how to solve puzzles above score 30, but before I do that video, I would like you to do two things: subscribe to my channel on YouTube, and also somebody to achieve a higher score than 24 on the chesswithmrray.chess.com Puzzle Rush account. So after that, I'm more than happy to make a video on how do I solve puzzles above score 30, because that's where they get more harder. Once again, I think that I will still use the 5 principles that we talked about: assessment of the board, candidate moves, calculation, computer's last move, and who are the main pieces and what can they do. The rook is the main piece. What can it do? Maybe you can do a skewer, right? So that is one of the candidate moves. This is probably not going to be a checkmate, and if it's win material, skewer looks like a potential solution. I wish I could do a fork like this, but cannot do it because my knight is pinned. So identifying the main piece, what can the queen do? The only thing the queen can do, it can't do any checks. We capture the knight, but that doesn't work. The rook, besides going to a skewer, can capture the pawn, but that gets eliminated by him capturing back. Okay, guys? Identifying the main pieces and doing candidate moves with each of them, even if you are not sure if it's checkmate or win material. However, step 1 is assessment of the board. So please review all the 5 elements of solving the puzzle. And most importantly, I wish everybody to score well on the quiz. There is a quiz, and let me know how much you guys score on the quiz, and if you can beat the current record of the Chess with Mr. Ray, which is at 24. And I'll see you soon.